See, I'm with Augustine. I think that's the great statement of anthropology, is, Lord, you made us for yourself, and therefore the heart is restless until it rests in thee.
In this clip, Bishop Barron humbly confronts Dave Rubin and his question, can atheistic and secular people live happy lives without God? Now, Bishop Barron emphatically says, no, they cannot live happy lives without God. And he's going to cite Charles Taylor, who is a Canadian Catholic philosopher, and St. Augustine, who of course is St. Augustine, and that famous phrase, all of us are restless until we find our rest in God, our rest in Christ. Let's go ahead and watch what Bishop Barron has to say, and then afterwards I will provide my concluding remarks.
Do you think there's a certain amount of people, forgetting whether they're atheist or a believer or aren't even sure what they believe, that this stuff doesn't really matter to them in their lives and can still go about a perfectly decent life? That they just, whatever the questions are, they thought about them, maybe they didn't think about them, they put them to bed, and then they're just living some secular, decent life.
Well, yeah, I mean, the medieval said posse sequitur esse, meaning possibility follows from being. So, yeah, in fact, that it does exist, so therefore it's possible. Yeah. I know a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
But see, I'm with Charles Taylor, the great Catholic philosopher. We have the buffered self in our world today. Modernity has surrounded the self with this buffer zone. I'm buffered from the transcendent. And I live as though that's all there is the world in front of me that I can see and measure and control. I'd say punch holes in the buffered self. Punch holes in that and open yourself to transcendence. What's the line from Leonard Cohen, you know, is the cracks in your skull let in the light. He got that from G.K. Chesterton, that line. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I would encourage people to break through the buffered self.
Yeah.
To
so
a higher
when you say the buffered self, you're talking about just sort of the day-to-day stuff that we're inundated with, right? You're talking about technology and television and the whole thing, or
whatever
more
prevents you from contacting a properly transcendent dimension. That's a buffer that I think is doing damage to the human spirit, you know? See, I'm with Augustine. I think that's the great statement of anthropology, is, Lord, you made us for yourself, and therefore the heart is restless until it rests in thee. That's Springsteen's Hungry Heart. That's everything. I got this longing in me that will not be satisfied by anything in this world. And the more you know about the world, the more you know that. The more you experience, the more you know that. That's why, you know, Lewis and those people will say, it's at the best moments of life that I'm least satisfied. You know what I mean? Is precisely when I do come to a great knowledge of truth. I do come to a great accomplishment of justice. I do see something truly beautiful. I take it in, and then there's a sense of, you know, okay, there's got to be more than that.
Yeah.
And that's good. That's good. That's the heart, soul, if you want, pressing and pushing. It wants more. That's the drive toward the truth itself, the beautiful itself.
Yeah.
I want to recover that, because I think it's doing damage to people that we've shut down that desire.
Yeah, so I want to get to some of the societal reasons that we've shut down some of that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm curious though, do you think that people can attain, forgetting the people that aren't asking the questions, but what about the people that actually are on some sort of existential journey or some sort of spiritual journey? Can they attain those very truths without the belief in something they can't prove? Do you think that there could be other ways of attaining the same insights that you're attaining through this route?
Well, and of course, I've been following kind of a philosophical path, you know, with you. That's how I got started. And that's open to anyone, I think, of you know, open mind. Belief or faith in the proper sense is something a little bit different. That's when you learn to trust a word that's come from this reality, that you've sensed, that you know you want, you have a sense of it. But then the conviction that this reality has spoken through a great religious tradition, and you respond with trust. Now that's faith, and that opens up a whole different side of it.
Right. So
you know, it's like, this is helpful to me, because getting ready for the interview today, you know, I knew a little bit about you, went on, you know, the internet, Googled you, watched some interviews.
Don't listen to any of that stuff, whatever it said about it. I mean.
But I'm finding out a few things about you that way. You know, and I could talk to people that know you and find out some things.
Sure.
I'd be in control of that process. I'd be rationally investigating. But heck, I'm not going to begin to know you, what's in your heart and your mind. Until that moment, if you and I became friends and way down the pike, at some point, you opened your heart to me. Mm-hmm. And I decided, okay, I'm going to trust this guy. I trust what he's telling me. Faith is a bit like that. You know what I'm saying? is we can know a lot about God. We can approach God through rational means. We can investigate philosophically and all that. Faith is a matter of trusting a word that's come from God. And that's a whole different game. That comes from a relationship, you know.
Were there moments that you were trying to take the leap of faith, that the ledge moved a little bit?
In which direction? Toward me or away from me?
Oh, I meant away from you, but
Yeah.
but if you have a good example of towards you,
No,
that's fine too.
it's speaking as a Catholic, we like faith and reason. So we're kind of a both and religion. We don't drive a wedge between them, which some religions do. You know, there's faith, which is great, and then reason's kind of suspect. We like reason, and I've used it, I think, and been encouraged by people in my tradition to use it. But there does come that moment of a leap, if you want to use Kierkegaard's term, and I think that's true. There is a moment of trust in what God is speaking, and I'm not in control of that. And so the ledge can do what it wants in some ways, you know. And now read the great spiritual masters. Why God would behave that way is very interesting. Why God would at sometimes play coy, if you want, where God might withdraw, you know.
Yeah.
As you're passionately seeking, God wants to be found, but why would God do that? There's interesting reasons, I think. But I've experienced that, I think, as anyone that's in the life of prayer or the spiritual dimension has experienced.
Yeah, I'm curious, are you, as someone that does what you do in a secular society,
Yeah.
Although religion obviously influences our secular society, but as someone in a secular society, when you have most of these conversations, do you feel that they're combative or that the other person's trying to prove something to you? Because I'll be very upfront, my audience knows how I interview. I'm
Yeah.
not going to try to convince you of anything. I'm
Right.
truly here to hear your points.
Right.
And at the end, you know, I'll maybe go, all right, well, there was some stuff that worked, some stuff that didn't.
Yeah.
You know, but do you find that we're constantly, even in a secular world, always trying to prove who's right to each other?
Sure. I mean, I got on YouTube, about 10 years ago now. I was so naive. I knew it just came into being around that time. So we put some commentaries up there. I didn't even know you could comment on YouTube video. So I was delighted. Hey, 200 people to watch my video, you know.
Yeah.
And then I discovered the comments. So
Don't
the comments,
spend.
No,
No
but-
man of God should be in the comment
but-
section on YouTube. I'm pretty sure. of
Actually,
that.
at first, I'll confess, I was really sort of put off. And I'm like, oh my God, all this obscenity, and these people hate me, they hate God. But over time, now 10 years of it, I don't respond to everything, of course, but I'll look every morning. I'll go through and see like what's come through and maybe respond to things here and there. There was a time, though, when I was getting involved in those conversations, and I liked it because I knew I was getting way outside the walls of the church. I was not talking to the choir. I was not talking to people who would ever darken the door of our institutions. And I liked that. Some really good conversations unfolded. Some really obnoxious conversations unfolded. In some cases, and I can show you examples, people really were brought to conversion by these interactions. So I liked them, you know. The hard thing for me as a pastor, you know, as a priest, I had to keep saying, okay, behind these words, there's a person somewhere. You don't see him or her. You don't know where they're coming from, but there's a person behind these maybe really obnoxious words. And that was an important pastoral moment. So no, I've actually come to enjoy that process.
Yeah, I think most of us, whether we're in the church or anything or not, realizing that there's humans behind even these Twitter eggs.
Right.
There's an actual person there.
There's an actual person that is suffering or is angry or whatever it is. You know?
Yeah.
All right, so I just want to end this video kind of where Bishop Barron ended his comments, his remarks, and that is with the reality that in light of the fact that secular society and an atheistic worldview leads people to have kind of this restless mentality, they're seeking and searching for something that they don't have, and that thing that they need is God, as St. Augustine so brilliantly says. We need to be on the initiative to go and try to reach people with God, with this transcendental reality, with the gospel, with the good news of Jesus Christ. Being confronted with this conversation between Dave Rubin and Bishop Barron should not leave you thinking, oh man, atheists are just so stupid. No, on the contrary, what it should do is produce a sense, just like Bishop Barron has, that we should find ways to evangelize, that we should find ways to reach people that are living these sad, restless lives. So the question for you is, who is that person? Who are those people? How can you begin implementing something within your life that looks like evangelistic outreach, that looks like what Christ has done for you? Be thinking about that this week, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.